Welcome to Up at Noon. Good to have you.
Yeah.
Marty Sleva, what's your title now? Senior?
Executive editor.
Yeah. That's crazy. How
Yeah.
you fallen upwards, man?
Yeah, I drink a lot, and so all of a sudden it happens.
Sometimes you just wake up with a new job.
Yeah, that's
You
what
know how
leaving
it
Las
happened?
Vegas was about.
One of your beats here at IGN is features, and you guys put up a fascinating one just yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sort of going in line with the recent Assassin's Creed rumors, leaks that have come out about the game being set in Egypt,
Yep.
called Origins, Return to Naval Combat. We wanted to look back and be like, how many Assassin's Creed games have actually leaked before, an official announcement? And
Right.
it turns out
Almost all of them.
like 99% of Assassin's
Wow.
Creed games.
12 games, right?
Literally every mainline console Assassin's Creed game except for 2.
Except for 2.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Which baker's dozen.
Good God. Yeah, so Brandon Tyrell wrote this, but because you got your new fancy job position, you just big timed him and came in here
Yeah,
instead.
yeah, that kind of happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's the article's up on IGN. This is great.
So one of the craziest things is the fact that Assassin's Creed 1 leaked.
Yeah.
Like the name of a new IP called Assassin's Creed that Ubisoft was working on back in 2007.
Yeah, so it looks like the trademark filing at the U.S. Patent Office was introduced with the name Assassin's Creed, so people found it.
Yeah.
The weird thing now is that it's so difficult to create something and make a website for it and file a patent for
Yeah.
it. So by the time, that's why it's like, if you look at something like the Nintendo Switch,
Yeah.
it's sort of amazing that we didn't know the name of that thing.
Sure, yeah.
Until one day they were just like,
It's
here's
called
the
the Switch.
branding.
And we woke up that morning and we were like, well, what? It's
Yeah.
called a Switch?
Well, even like at E3, you see like there's a bunch of people wearing T-shirts of something, right? And you're like, oh, well, who printed those T-shirts?
yeah.
Who got the stickers done? Like all that stuff. So one of the running themes I've noticed here. So here's another one: Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Registered the domain name.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot of
way.
stuff leaks by that of like copyright. You have to do a ton
Assassin's
of
Creed Revelations. The community from NeoGAF shout out to NeoGAF, was able to extract information from a Ubisoft Facebook post. Assassin's Creed 3, that was in 2012. A Best Buy internal employee, aka Snitch.
Yeah, he was a
Leaked
snitch.
that thing. Liberation, which was the Vita game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That got leaked on NeoGAF ahead.
Yeah.
Getting their hands on an early issue of Game Informer that broke the street date.
yeah.
So these games not only leak constantly, but they leak in creative new ways.
Yeah.
And one of after that it gets really interesting because we start seeing stuff like airplanes,
Yeah.
where people are on a plane.
And they have their laptop open.
Yeah,
And you're just
and-
like, oh, what's that all
Well,
about?
you know what's the funniest part here is that Assassin's Creed's all about secret societies
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and like hidden things that you don't know about. And it's like in reality, it's like, well, I mean, if somebody did actually work for like Abstergo in real life, they'd just have their like Palm Pilot out on a laptop,
Yeah.
and so you could snap a photo of it.
Right. Yeah, and then the last
so-
couple of years, it seems like Jason Schreier over at Kotaku has
Yep.
somehow, I think he has like a bug inside Ubisoft.
I love this one. Assassin's Creed Liberation is the only one that has the distinction of being the single-player game on the list to be leaked twice. It got leaked for Vita, and then the HD
right.
version
Yeah.
got
Oh,
leaked.
man.
Yeah.
But there was a story also of somebody they were on a train or on a plane, and somebody was like, "Hey, what you working on?" And he's like, "I'm working on the new Assassin's Creed
Yeah,
game."
you're supposed to do-
And the guy was like, "I'm a gamer."
Yeah. And then we got that Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Someone had the
Yeah.
PowerPoint open on their laptop.
Do you remember? Was it Destiny that somebody left the entire marketing material
at a Panera Bread?
At a Panera Bread.
Yeah. And we got a hold of that.
We got a hold of it.
That's why we're always going to Panera now looking for
Dude,
scoops.
it's great. You picked
and
two.
soups.
Yeah.
No, it's really funny that this is specifically a games thing. Like I think this is just games and tech. This is it's kind of a weird artifact of I think games coming out of technology is that there's kind of tighter gag orders in terms of like internal espionage type of stuff. But you look at how when movies get, like we just talked about a bunch of movies that have been announced, and they're like, the movie's not there yet, but here are the people who are going to be working on it. You're like,
what?
oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas look at what is it? Janina, who's playing the main character in Battlefront 2.
yeah.
We didn't know that until the trailer showed.
Yeah.
Whereas it's Untitled Project on IMDb or whatever. But with movies and everything else, it's in the trades. They announce it ahead of time.
It amazes me that there's still any surprises in video games. Like, it amazes me that before E3 last year, we didn't know that Death Stranding was a thing. Like, we didn't know that Insomniac Spider-Man was a thing. And so it's like those sort of secrets I'm always really impressed by. But Ubisoft, for one reason or another, just seems like they just keep getting the raw end of the stick.
Well, I think a big part of it too is that these games are like created globally across 8 studios. Call of Duty has a similar thing where, and think about how many Call of Duty games have leaked in the last decade, right?
Yeah.
Like even the World War II one we knew about a while before.
Yeah,
and even from there, people were able to look at that leaked screenshot and figure out that Josh Duhamel, I believe his name is, from Transformers was starring in the game, put it all together.
Did you say Duhamel?
Is there a nicer way to say it? Duhamel?
Duhamel?
I usually
Josh
say just
Bechamel.
the consort of Fergie. That's how I refer to him.
Is that Fergie's husband?
It is the consort of Fergie.
Oh, really?
Yes, her consort.
I got another story about that.
He carries
I'm
the
not
eggs.
gonna say it on air.
Are you talking about the time Fergie Peter Pants?
No. I'm talking no. It's a more personal story.
Fergie Peter Pants on stage.
wanna hear that one.
You can find a picture of it.
Okay, great.
No, but Josh put up a picture on Twitter of him in the mocap suit, and people put it together, two and two. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. So what's really funny is if you compare this to, I don't know, movies, TV, stuff frequently used to leak a lot with collectibles, and we've seen this. Like we saw Rey's new outfit, I think, leak in the form of like a party napkin or something.
I think we just saw Kylo's new TIE fighter or new ship, and it's like a Lego or something.
Via Hot Wheels. Yeah, and
Hot
it's funny
Wheels,
because Disney's actually been way tighter on not showing stuff off at Toy Fair, not showing stuff off at at Celebration, but being like, hey, we've got a day when we reveal all that stuff to the wild. But back when I was really into like action figures growing up, and the first time you'd see like you look at, oh, here's what I don't know, here's what Sabretooth's going to look like in the X-Men movie, is a photo of this action figure of Tyler Mane.
Yeah.
You're like,
no, I guess this is it.
I mean, that's what he looks like with a bunch of joints and like a,
because there's
scheme on
that's that perfect combination of like stuff gets leaked by people working on it or people working at a store / stuff gets released pre the actual product being released, and then wild speculation kicks in.
Yeah.
We wrote a story before Dark Knight Rises came out that was about a children's book that came out for Dark Knight Rises, and we were like, Does Bane get thrown into prison at the end? And I was like, no, that's his children's book.
So the really funny thing about
does he throw a pie at his face?
No, he gets killed by a missile.
It's so weird that they would still have like kids marketing stuff attached to the Dark Knight movies and everything. They had one of my favorite like gags ever was Toy Fair magazine tried to break down the plot of Batman Begins based on the action figures they were making to go with that, but they were like really. Like they were very like goofy kids act. There was like neon scuba rescue Batman, and they're like so before going after Scarecrow with his nerve gas and rescuing Katie Holmes, Batman has to put on these weird pink pants and get on his light up scuba gear.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This is my favorite time of the year for leaks because they're happening in the next week or two.
Oh yeah.
But one of my favorite things that happens every single year is that people geotag Instagram posts around the Los Angeles Convention Center, and when the Teamsters pile into that place to build E3, they invariably start taking pictures like that, and that's how we got Super Mario Maker a couple years ago.
Yeah, and Amiibo.
And Amiibo, there was an entire lineup of posters of Super Mario Maker, and we were like, are those fake? Are they not? And then you start seeing like photos of crates, and you're like, is the PlayStation 5 in there?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a fascinating time. I know our news guys and and people from other sites start checking on Instagram to see what is tagged around that area every year. And you get like a lot of it. The funny thing about it is that there's a lot of just like a guy who's like, just ate a foot-long sub. And then right next to it's just like, oh, Blinks the cat's coming back.
Yeah.
Whoa, what?
I think my favorite was the guy one of the chefs who catered an event to announce
Tony Hawk 5.
Right. And he just was like,
oh, yeah.
Real pleasure working with Tony Hawk. And there's the logos behind him, and everyone's like, oh, well, there it is.
They had set up, he catered dinner inside of a half pipe.
Yeah.
That
seems like a terrible place to
It was a huch picture of a half pipe, and there's like a chef in the middle with all these tables, and it's like, well, now your game's out there.
Scoops and soups.
God, I love that so much.
One of the things I like most about this article specifically is that we covered all of these leaks originally, and so when you go back, like Jeremy Dunham wrote the AC1 one, I think Greg wrote the Liberation, and it's just a history of IGN News over the past decade.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
it's a decade of leaks about a game about secret society.
So if you want to read in depth on this, it's written by Brandon Tyrell. It's called The History of Assassin's Creed Leaks. Just Google it. It'll be the first thing that pops up. Really, really fascinating stuff. And yeah, let us know what your favorite video game leak is, or how you found out about stuff that you love now. It's so interesting and so cool when this stuff happens. And I think it's only getting worse.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like there's so many moving parts now.
It's the internet.
I think my favorite video game leak is the leak that Farfetch carries and hits people with.
What are you doing with your hand?
It's what Farfetch does.
That's
what
fair.
Farfetch
I like
does.
that.
Yeah, do that.
It's a green onion joke.
Eat it.
Oh, hi there. If you enjoyed this little bit about Assassin's Creed games leaking, well, maybe you'll enjoy these tips on how to survive E3 as a fan. The event where they're going to be showing off that leaked Assassin's Creed game. Oh, Assassin's Creed's that game where you jump off of buildings into haystacks. You should check out a bunch of things that video games take for granted. Excuse me, I have to feed my boy.